Hey guys, and welcome back to another Conan Exiles video. Today we are on the Exiled Lands, west of the dam in map square F10, building the WATCHER'S castle. All of the mods used are in the pinned comment below, so without further ado, let's get started. As you might have already guessed by the title, this is indeed a speed build. For this build, I chose to build a small keep atop this stone platform as a home for a faction of the WATCHER'S. One thing I will say is that I found it quite difficult to actually find any backstory or indeed any real solid information on the WATCHER'S themselves, so I had to improvise, but we'll get to that soon. For the construction of this castle, I decided to mainly use Arena. Many of you will know that Arena is one of my favourite building materials, and though I've actively tried to avoid using it as much as I have in the past, I decided to indulge myself with this build and use the Arena pieces. This stone platform I'm building on offers quite a lot of room to work with, so it makes for a really easy base to start this build from. However, I didn't want to just have a massive cube as a build, so I decided to try something different by forcing myself to break the structure up into various sections. This platform has a raised ridge surrounding the centre, with longer lower platforms on the west and east sides, and higher but smaller platforms on the north and the south. Therefore, to break up the build and make it more interesting, I constructed the base of the castle in the centre of the platform and built out small branches to the exterior platforms that will provide some viewing areas that should hopefully help to break up any structural monotony. I also decided later on in the building process to add buttresses around the build that I can use to support the upper floors and create some more interesting shapes. Having the buttresses run up the walls and section off balconies and other walkways makes the design overall much more interesting. I'll also be having a 2x2 tower rising out of the centre of the build to sit high above the rest of the castle to add a little bit of balance. I think having this centrepiece is really quite important for the overall look and balance of the castle, as it looks fine without it, but having it there just adds that little something on top. When it came to the backstory and the themes of this build, I'll be honest, it was a bit of a struggle. I decided to use the WATCHER'S as an interesting faction to base within this castle, however finding any solid backstory about them proved fairly problematic. I examined their clothing, and whilst that did hint at their nature, it didn't really say much about their driving influences, culture or their gods. One thing I couldn't help but notice is that they seem like quite a Lovecraftian faction, which made the choice to select them as residents of this castle an even more intriguing one. I really enjoy H.P. Lovecraft's work and all of his themes, especially the ones contained within Conan Exiles, so that choice was pretty much a no-brainer. I did later on notice that the WATCHER'S have a series of small black orbs across their outfit, which look a lot like Zath spider eggs. When I combined this with the WATCHER'S mask, which is very obviously spider-like, which gave me quite the clear impression that, if they're not direct worshippers, they are at least very heavily linked to Zath. Therefore, I chose to decorate this build as if it's a much older castle that has been commandeered by the WATCHER'S. This helps to explain some of the thematically inconsistent decorations I chose, such as some of the statues around the castle, but it also plays heavily into the location of the build. Though the castle is isolated at first glance, it is actually surrounded by some quite notable settlements. New Azagarth, Mammoth Rider's Shanty, Coldfish Camp, the Dam and Lian's Watch are all within sight of the castle, giving the WATCHER'S plenty of subjects to observe. In keeping with their links to Zath, I also managed to fit a decent sized shrine to Zath into the castle itself, which adds quite a creepy edge to an overall normal looking keep, given the wealth of pulsating spiders' eggs, cobwebs and arachnids crawling across the walls. So I think that's about all I have to say for this build so far until we come back to walk through the Furnish build. As always, the links to my Twitch, Discord, Twitter, Patreon and NordVPN discounts are in the description below, and again the mods used in this build are in the pinned comment. I'll be back shortly for the furnishing phase, so you can either enjoy the rest of the construction phase, or use the chapter marker in the player bar below to skip ahead. With that being said, enjoy the rest of the build and I will see you in the furnishing phase. Finally, when the shell of the build was done, it was then time to of course furnish. With the castle perched atop this stone platform, the only way to actually reach the keep is by climbing a tall, narrow staircase that clings to the edges of the platform itself. Reaching the castle, I've designed the structure to be mostly open plan. I've lit the build with hanging braziers, wall braziers and lanterns, and I've dotted some watchers around the structure. Firstly, we have a small courtyard for the residents, offering a pleasant place to sit and chat. Next, the library. The shelves are packed with a wide variety of historical books, from studies on the Nordheimers to strange occult documents, which provide some interesting reading material for the Watchers. Heading outside again, the western section offers a viewing platform down to Mammoth Rider's shanty. Heading back inside, the grim shrine of Zath is tucked into the corner, with a few watchers undertaking their prayers. Zath's spiders infest this castle, with the epicenter of the infestation being this vile nest. Heading upstairs, this is a transitional segment that offers a small campfire inside the tower to cook food on, along with a partially contained balcony that offers access to the northern and southern viewing platforms. The balcony and these platforms are equipped with telescopes, allowing the watchers to observe subjects even further away from the castle. Heading upstairs again, we reach the roof. This is a large flat area equipped with more telescopes, again allowing the watchers to observe the nearby Nordheimers and take notes on their culture, rituals, lifestyle, etc. Finally, the tower is another viewing platform that provides some quite dizzying views across the Highlands. And there we have it, the Watcher's Castle in the Exiled Lands, west of the dam in map square F10. Thanks for watching. The Watchers are a really interesting yet, from what I've found, barely explained faction that I've never really looked into too much, but I'm glad I did for this video. They add a quite creepy Lovecraftian edge to this build that otherwise could have been perfectly fine for almost any other faction, though none of them would have provided that intrigue that the Watchers did. As always, you'll find all the links to my Twitch, Discord, Twitter, Patreon and NordVPN discount in the description below, along with credit for the music used in this video. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I put out at least 2 videos a week, so there's always plenty of content to come. If you have any suggestions for future builds, I would love to hear them in the comments below. As always, a massive thanks to our patrons Sammy, Sir Dialot, Randar, Connor, Blue Ivy, Velma, Torn, Eagle Rose and Maril224. Again, thank you very much for watching, take care, and I'll see you soon.